Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me well? Wonderful. So we are on the second panel. We yeah, okay. It's about classical music in China and beyond. Oh, there fall down somebody. Okay, everything is fine. Classical music trends in China and beyond, an inventory. So what we are trying now to describe a picture starting from China, because we are always saying Harbin is the so-called entrance door to the Chinese music life, to give you some hard facts, and then having a reflection and a discussion, hopefully together with you. Where are the biggest challenges for this very specific market? Asia is a big continent. We maybe are doing always the same mistake that we put them all together, but if we look to Europe, how different the Italian music life is from the German one, the Austrian from the French one, we can understand how different music scenes are, starting from Singapore, going through South Korea, Japan, China. So hopefully we can have some new information for us, inspiring us also for new kind of visions and possibly new projects. I would like to ask our guests to introduce themselves, and then we start with a very short PowerPoint presentation. So, ladies first, Mrs. Crystal Hon from Singapore.
Thank you so much. But I guess before I start, I'd just like to thank the Federation for inviting me. This is the first time I am attending your conference, and also it's the first time that the organization that I work for, which is the Esplanade Theatres on the Bay, is having representation here. So thank you so much, Peter and Gloria. So my name is Crystal Hon, and I am the Assistant Head of Music at the Esplanade Theatres on the Bay. What I look after is largely all of the classical music performances that happen at Esplanade, and also other genres that I look after will be jazz and indie music. So it's not solely classical. Another thing that I do is that if any of you have come to our concert hall at the Esplanade, we have adjustable acoustics. So I lead a team that if any of you decide to come to perform at the Esplanade, my team and myself will come down and customize the acoustics for you. So
thank you very much, Mrs. Hon. Now, Mr. Ming Li, President, China Shanghai International Arts Festival.
大家好，我叫李，来自上海，中国上海国际艺术节中心。首先非常感谢联盟的邀请，让我来参加这个联盟的年会，来跟大家介绍一下中国上海国际艺术节。非常感谢。
I like it short. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Chong, Chair of Arts Council Korea.
예, 반갑습니다. 저는 한국의 한국문화예술위원회 위원장직을 맡고 있고요. 우선 먼저 그 국제 콩쿠르 세계 연맹 측과 하얼빈 시 측에 초청을 해주신 거에 대해서 감사하게 생각을 하고요. 저는 오늘 여러분들하고 한국의 클래식 음악이 어떤 역사를 가지고 어떻게 발전해 왔는지 함께 논의하고 싶습니다.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm truly honored to be here at the WFIMC General Assembly, and I want to thank our kind host in Harbin as well as the WFIMC leadership. My name is Jung Byung-guk. I'm the chair of Arts Council Korea, or ARCO. We are the Korea's leading public organization supporting artists and institutions backed by the National Culture and Arts Promotion Fund. Today, I would like to give you a brief overview of the Korea's classical music scene, how it's evolving, what systems support it, and how we can work together going forward.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Only to give you an idea now about the structure of this panel, we all agreed on a tempo between allegro moderato and presto. We try to have a little bit of speed. And we are going to start now with this short PowerPoint presentation about classical music hard facts in China. Then we have a shorter presentation by Mrs. Hon, also in the form of a PowerPoint. Then we have Mr. Ming Li, as well with the PowerPoint, very easy to understand and to receive the information. And then at the final point, Mr. Chong, and then we are going to open the discussion between us and then with the floor. So let me start with the hard fact of Chinese music life, if the PowerPoint can be started. So that's always a story of how this country is growing so fast. In 2005, I think a lot of members already visited China maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago. I remember the streets full of bicycles. Bicycles disappeared. Now there are a lot of concert halls, and people are on their car and public transport. These are the numbers. They are maybe interesting. 2005, up to 30 halls. Today, we are on over 200 halls. And as we had here the deputy mayor of Harbin, who is the CEO of Poly Arts, around 80 out of these 200 halls are run by Poly Art, by this quite important man. Then we have, this is also important, it's always focused on the provincial capitals, 85%. So there is not so much as in Europe is the case usually that you have a lot of happenings in the periphery. Here is everything concentrated, focused on the big city. Big city for China, sometimes they are small, but for us they are already bigger than the capital of our countries. Then we have 90% of newly built concert halls. This gives us an idea. We started in 2005 with these 20, 30 halls. Everything was built afterwards, and the ambition and the investment, it's totally impressive because China from the starting point on, were always collaborating with international experts, high standards, sound designer for the acoustic. So you can find a lot of concert halls with excellent acoustic. The most famous one, with the biggest reputation, we can say, is NCPA. As you know, maybe you saw this in our papers, and afterwards we will update you about their first talks about a possible partnership with this very beautiful concert hall, which is much more than a concert hall because they have an opera house in, drama theater, multifunctional theater, and they're hosting over 800 performances. And recently they built another 2 venues in different districts of Beijing. So maybe this is the most powerful institution regarding classical culture and music. Second, Mr. Li knows it well, Shanghai Symphony Hall defined the first really important standard designed by architect Toyo Ito. It's the house of the Shanghai Symphony Orchestra. We have to comment always this, China's oldest symphony. We know there's still an ongoing discussion if Harbin owns the oldest symphony orchestra or Shanghai, but that's the detail. Both orchestras are one of the most important of the country. So, 40 million of people still learning piano, other instruments. At this very specific moment, people are moving a little bit from piano to other instruments. We were told now in a few weeks there's the big saxophone conference with 70,000 people coming to this city. And also Chinese people, 40,000 I was told, started over the last 2 years to learn this instrument. Also regarding orchestras, it's important because orchestras are also employers of professional musicians. They started in '90 with less than 10 orchestras on a very national level. Then they invited people from abroad. I think in Harbin, this is also very well known. A lot of Russian musicians came in. And now we are in 25. This year we are on more than 80 orchestras. These are the major orchestras, Shanghai, as I already mentioned, Harbin, Guangzhou, China Philharmonic, and of course the China NCPA Orchestra. These are the main orchestras also touring abroad. Now here is not mentioned Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is a different story. Of course, Hong Kong Philharmonic is also super important. Festivals, that's, for me, from my point of view, quite interesting. Classical music, more than 50. It's not so an impressive number from my point of view if you look how big this country is, how many musicians they have, and if you look to Europe, full of festivals, we have thousands of festivals, so maybe there is something still to be developed, and this is one of the most traditional one. We are going to assist to the opening tomorrow, Harbin Summer Music Festival, founded in '61. And then we have the Beijing Music Festival, very much linked to Yu Long, the famous conductor, founded in '98. Also audience, 83,000. If we remember, we are not so far from what Lucerne has, if I'm not so wrong. And then we have the Beijing Music Festival. Here the numbers, we already saw it. Then we have professional universities, also interesting. 11 state-funded conservatories. And why is it so interesting? Because as concert halls are built, festivals are slowly growing, all these people need a framework to work professionally to start their own careers. And now we are on 110 plus university, including School of Music. The most decisive, important one are the two in Beijing, the Central Conservatory of Music, the oldest one, the China Conservatory of Music, and then Shanghai Conservatory of Music that we know well because we already started a kind of a collaboration. And then interesting also regional conservatories where also, for example, in Tianjin are coming in schools from abroad. So when this country opened the borders, quite a lot and interesting and very important universities from US, mostly from US, came to the country, entering in a kind of a joint venture and building up a new university. So we are in 2000, we are about 5,000, 7,000 students. Today we are above 30,000 students. Same for the music teachers. It's always 3, 4, up to 5 times more. Performance programs, key changes, teaching degrees. So all this is a story of very fast growing, a very fast growing music scene, education system, and it's over. I think I was on 5 minutes, so thank you very much. We can go back then to the numbers if you need. So now I would like to ask Mrs. Hon to give her own view and or only the short speech that you prepared, no?
Yes, that's fine. I would just like to also, but for the benefit of those who do not know about the Esplanade, I'll just say a little bit about the Esplanade and the amount of classical music presentations that we have. So I have a PowerPoint.
That's fine. Let's start the PowerPoint of the Esplanade Singapore. That's the wrong one. That's the afterward.
Yes, this is the one. Thank you. Okay, so I'd just like to say that Singapore is a very small city-state. There's only about 6 million people, and only half of which would be Singaporean citizens. So we're really dealing with about 3 million Singaporeans. But for a small country, I'm very proud to be part of this state-of-the-art performing arts center called the Esplanade. So just a couple of numbers. We do about 4,500 performances and activities every year, out of which 70% are all free. It could be classical music, it could be jazz, but we'll make 70% of our performances free to everyone who turns up at our Performing Arts Center. And we have 3.2 million attendances per year. And this sounds like a lot. I mean, we are a very busy arts center, and I'd just like to explain why we are so busy. It's because we have many different venues. So our crown jewel is the concert hall. It's the one on the far left at the top. It seats 1,600, and this is the hall that has adjustable acoustics. This is where most of our classical music presentations take place. Our Singapore Symphony performs in here very regularly, and when we invite international artists, of course, we have had many different musicians grace our hall. But apart from that, we also have a 1,900-seat theater, and that's where all our stage plays, operas, ballets, Chinese operas as well. That's where they'll be presented. We also have a waterfront theater whereby all of the seats can be configurable, so it's a flexible space. We have a recital studio where we have a lot of chamber music, a theater studio, which is a black box, and an NX studio, which is where we have a lot of it's our live music house. So we have a lot of bands go in there. Other spaces that we can put performances and programs would be the Playbox, our outdoor theater, rehearsal studio, our visual art space, which is called Jindela, and we have the tunnel and concourse as well. So basically, Singapore is a country that is scarce of land, right? There's land scarcity. So we try to make use of our space as much as possible. So we do have a lot of venues and we do have a lot of performances. And I have a team of about 40 programmers, and we do 11 festivals a year and 17 series, covering our cultural programs, which include performances for our Chinese, Malay, and Indians. We have a sacred music festival, festivals for our children and youth. We have a jazz festival, and a singing festival, and so on and so forth. I mean, we're very happy to share a few more if you're interested. But in terms of classical music, first and foremost, once my team is done with securing all of the dates and the various venues for the 11 festivals and 17 series, we open up the rest of the space, the unused space, for hire. So one of our biggest hirers is the Singapore Symphony. They do about 25 performances in our venue every year, and I think they want to increase. They seem to like our venue a lot. And in terms of other hirers and impresarios, they also hire our venues quite regularly, bringing in their own favorite artists. So in terms of what we do at Esplanade, in terms of international presentations, we might bring in one big orchestra a year, maybe a chamber orchestra, and maybe a recitalist. So not much, because what we try not to do for a small country is to cannibalize each other. So we try to complement whatever the Singapore Symphony is doing and what the private presenters are doing. But having said that, we do spend about 60 days in the year devoted to presentations of our own local classical music artists. We try to support them and boost them as much as we can. Is that okay?
Thank you very much. As a starting point, to have a first impression about Singapore is super helpful. In between brackets, because we are talking a lot about numbers, and maybe some of our members maybe are deeply impressed by these numbers and budget, but we should not forget, if we put together all our own budgets, I made a rough calculation, maybe Jacques, our former treasurer, will confirm me. We, as a federation, have a tiny little budget. We are going to approve it, hopefully, in the afternoon, in the business meeting part. But altogether, we are around 85 million. So 85 million in the competition music world is already something. So we can admire these figures and these numbers, but we should not be afraid. We are really serious partners on that level. Jacques will, in the meanwhile, calculate if this is true and right. Mr. Lee, we are waiting for your PowerPoint presentation. It's the green button.
这样的话可能我的颈椎会好一点。好 ，OK。感谢大会的邀请，让我来在这里介绍一下我们艺术节。作为中国唯一的一个国家级的综合性的艺术盛会，中国上海国际艺术节自1999年创立以来，始终秉持着艺术的盛会、人民大众的节日这一崇高的宗旨，致力于搭建起一座东西方文化交流的璀璨桥梁。在古典交响音乐的广阔天地里，艺术节通过精心策划的国际民团引进、富有创意的本土创作创新，以及深入人心的惠民普及活动，构建了一个东西方古典音乐交融的独特的生态系统，已然成为全球古典音乐领域的重要的风向标。那么今天呢，我将从5个方面来阐述我们艺术节的一些在古典音乐上面的一些具体的做法。第一个方面，民团。中国上海国际艺术节每年都吸引着全球顶尖的交响乐团与独奏音乐家纷至沓来，共同搭建起东西方古典音乐对话的璀璨舞台。去年6月，艺术节的特别项目柏林爱乐在上海大剧院盛大助演，开创了与世界民团合作的新模式。4场交响乐、7场室内乐演出以及12场艺术教育活动，让15000余张交响音乐会的演出票在5分钟内一售而空，平均售出率与上座率均达到100%，总票房突破了1500万元。超过10%的境外观众与47%的外地观众坐着飞机、坐着高铁赶来上海，近2万名市民观众沉浸在其中。来自17个城市的108家媒体发布了210篇原创报道，全网相关话题浏览量更是突破1000万，刷新了柏林爱乐在上海的时长与场次以及覆盖人群的新纪录。那么，继去年上半年柏林爱乐乐团的精彩助演以后，下半年在艺术节期间，维也纳爱乐乐团、伦敦交响乐团、慕尼黑爱乐乐团等世界级天团也相继在艺术节的舞台上绽放光彩。在2024年巴黎奥运会开幕式上大放异彩的柴赛的冠军亚历山大·康特洛夫与肖赛的冠军拉法尔·布雷查兹也在此完成了他们的中国首秀。那么，越来越多的世界名团不再将上海视为巡演的一站，而是精心定制上海主场，带来全明星阵容与经典剧目。唯一一站上海首演，这种盛况愈发的密集。2023年，俄罗斯指挥大师杰杰耶夫率领马林斯基剧院来沪，上演了瓦格纳歌剧史诗《尼伯龙根的指环》的最新制作的版本。那么，2010年，我在艺术节的时候就牵头引进了德国科隆歌剧院制作的《尼伯龙根指环》。当时是首次将这部世界古典音乐史上享有空前地位的瓦格纳歌剧原班人马搬演至上海大剧院。那么从2010年到2023年，我非常欣喜地看到了观众欣赏水平的提高，有越来越多的瓦格纳迷通过国际艺术节的平台相聚，并且很多都是年轻观众、年轻的听众，具备专业素养与国际审美。那我想讲的第2部分是本土。 中国上海国际艺术节积极推动本土作曲家与西方交响乐团的深度合作，探索民族音乐的国际化表达新路径。2018年，艺术节和上海民族乐团共同违约了德国作曲家克里斯蒂安·幼斯特创作了《上海奥德赛》外滩故事，将二胡、琵琶等传统乐器与交响乐团巧妙融合，以东方韵味、浦江明珠等5个精彩篇章，跳脱出民族音乐的传统表达框架，以全新的色彩与活力，展现了中外文化的交相辉映与现代和传统文明的兼收并蓄。作曲家幼斯特以国际化的视野与中国民族音乐激情碰撞，中西方音乐思维与音乐语言在交融中迸发出创造性的火花。第三，创新。2019年曾被《华尔街日报》评价为具有极度冲击力与实力的年轻作曲家黄诺首次参加艺术节的扶持青年艺术家计划，带来了一场风格独树一帜的行者无疆王诺作品交响音乐会。从中国古乐与民乐、西方前卫音乐、摇滚乐和爵士乐中汲取灵感，他创造了多维主义的作曲手法，用交响乐的形式把本土的民谣歌曲重新打造，给他一个纵深立体的音响效果，让更多的人去感受我们这些民族的精髓，将中西元素完美结合。那么今年艺术节我们扶持青年艺术家计划板块当中呢，邀约的一部作品叫做《来自星空的未来音乐会：三体世界的召唤》，将以创新之姿为中国科幻文学开辟出一条交响乐表达的崭新路径，实现跨领域的艺术交融与突破。音乐会中的作品均出自中国作曲家之手，将构建三体世界多个重要场景，在为观众带来全新艺术享受的同时，将中国科幻文化的独特魅力传递给世界，让中国青年音乐家的作品获得全新的生命，向世界宣告中国青年艺术家的无限创造力与蓬勃朝气。那么第4个方面，公共文化惠民。去年国庆期间，恰逢我们艺术节艺术天空板块10周年的庆典，作为文旅融合特别策划的非凡贝多芬许钟和中国上海国际艺术节节日乐团演绎贝多芬交响乐全集，不仅打破了围墙的束缚，免费向市民开放，更创下了国内首次在1天内完整演奏贝多芬9部交响曲的户外景观演出记录。演出将古典乐演绎融入城市地标，成就了独一无二的户外景观演出盛举，受到上海市民乃至外地观众的热烈追捧。4000位观众共同见证了这场马拉松式的音乐盛宴。第5个方面，交融。中国上海国际艺术节的文化交融已超越简单的节目拼盘，形成了展示、对话、共创的递进模式。早期艺术节以引进经典作品为主，侧重于文化展示；近年来则以中西方交流合作，实现深度共创。这种转变的背后，是上海作为国际文化大都市定位的升级。中国上海国际艺术节作为多元化和综合性的艺术盛事，不仅加强演艺行业交流，带动产业链上下游的繁荣，也为文旅消费市场注入了新活力，有效拉动吃住行游购娱等多业态的增长。音乐会及名家名团演出剧目的观众综合消费相对更多。以第24届艺术节参演剧目安东尼奥·帕帕诺 王羽佳与伦敦交响乐团音乐会为例，这个项目总共在上海演出3场，开票5分钟内即售罄，演出票房达到了731万人民币。根据第三方机构的调研评估，不包含演出票，另有带动人均综合消费2754元。总体来看，2024年艺术节总票房达到7000万元，演出项目拉动消费约7.8亿元，总体1600余场展演活动撬动综合消费约40.2亿元。充分证明了文化交融带来的巨大的经济价值。更重要的是，它为全球古典音乐界提供了中国方案，如何让西方经典在东方语境中焕发新生，如何让民族音乐通过国际语言走向世界。中国上海国际艺术节通过国际民团引进、本土创作创新、惠民普及活动等一系列举措，构建起了一个东西方古典交响音乐交融的璀璨的生态系统。这种交融不仅极大地丰富了全球古典音乐的表达维度，更彰显了中国上海国际艺术节破除审美壁垒、激活传统创新、塑造文化共识的坚定决心与卓越成就。目前，第25届中国上海国际艺术节正在筹备中。本届艺术节将继续集结当今国际古典乐团具有标志意义的顶尖乐团。那么金秋10月，让我们共同见证这场世界级的音乐盛宴。未来，中国上海国际艺术节将继续书写东西方古典音乐交融的新篇章，为全球文化交流与艺术创新贡献更多的中国智慧与中国力量。谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Impressive numbers. Only one question before we give the word to Mr. Zhong. Is there any specific reason that the Shanghai Chinese Orchestra has this Chinese in the title? Because there maybe it's only one orchestra. There's not a Shanghai Italian Orchestra. Maybe we can postpone the answer to afterwards. We have some problems here with the Bluetooth. And now I would like to ask Mr. Zhong to give his own presentation. We all are very curious about South Korea. We, from the competition world, are always astonished that so many winners of our own competitions are coming from the South Korean music education system. So we have a huge admiration what South Korea built up over the last 30 years. Mr. Zhong will take part in a panel as well tomorrow, where he has his own PowerPoint presentation, but we said today we are going to limit it only to these 3 that we already saw. And please, Mr. Zhong, give to us your opening speech.
예, 먼저 중국 측의 급격한 발전하고 있는 모습 정말 인상 깊게 들었고요. 또 싱가포르의 디테일한 측면들 아주 인상 깊게 들었습니다.
We are very impressed by the 2 speakers from the Singapore and China.
한국에서 어떻게 클래식 음악을 지원하고 현황이 어떤지 하는 부분들을 앞에서 2 분이 발표한 것을 근거로 해서 여러분들께서 비교해 보실 수 있도록 발표를 해보겠습니다.
I'll try to give you the brief overview of the Korea's classical music scene, including the contents of the 2 speakers before myself, how it's evolving and what systems support it, and how we can work together going forward.
우선 먼저 하드웨어적인 측면에서 정부 예산을 비교를 한번 해보겠습니다. 한국은 총 예산이 822조 3천억 정도가 되는데요. 그 중에서 문화예술 예산이 9조 5천억 정도를 차지하고요. 시장 규모를 보면은 그 코로나 때는 한 2천억으로 줄어들어 1조 시장이 2천억 시장으로 줄어들었다가 다시 요즘에 와서는 1조 4,500억 시장으로 다시 급상승하고 있습니다. 여기에는 이제 한국의 그 새로운 트렌드가 하나 있는데요. 그동안에는 영화보다는 공연 예술이 경쟁력이 떨어졌어요. 근데 요즘에는 영화가 안 되고 오히려 영화관에 그 클래식 필름 공연을 지금 젊은이들이 굉장히 선호를 하고 있습니다. 그렇게 된 계기에는 그 퀸 엘리자베스 콩쿠르에서 우승을 했던 그 임지영을 주제로 한 파이널리스트라고 하는 다큐 영화나 또 반 클라이번 콩쿠르에서 우승을 했던 임윤찬을 주제로 했던 크레센도라고 하는 다큐 영화가 굉장히 인기를 얻으면서 이런 필름 영화가 그 지금 필름 공연이 지금 영화관에서 많이 성행을 하면서 시장 규모를 엄청나게 키웠고요. 한국의 공연 시설 수를 보면은 숫자는 굉장히 많습니다. 1,335개가 돼요. 이 중에서는 300명 정도 되는 극장서부터 1,000석 이상 되는 것까지를 해서 이 정도 되는데 그 중에서 공립 공연 시설이 584개가 되고 있고요. 공연 단체 수는 그 전체적으로 보면은 약 4,300여 개가 됩니다.
Korea's total culture and arts budget in 2023 was around $7 billion US dollars. Performing arts got about $2.3 billion of that. Our performance ticket market last year hit over $1 billion US dollar, and classical music made up the $73 million of it. In fact, performance ticket sales surpassed the movie box offices for the first time in 2023. There are several factors behind these expansions of the classical music. One notable reason is that the growing popularity of the new genre in Korean classical music scene, which is we call the classical film. Korean films such as The Crescendo, which followed the Yoon Chan-lim after his victory at the Van Cliburn competition, and documentary called The Finalist, featuring the violinist Ji Young-lim, the winner of the 2015 Queen Elizabeth competition, have contributed to the broader reach of the classical music. This has been a key drive not only for the film industry, but for the growth of the performance sectors, particularly the classical music market.
다음은 클래식 음악 교육과 정부 지원에 대해서 설명을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 한국 교육 중에서 특징적인 것 중에 하나가 클래식 음악 영재 교육인데요. 이거는 민관에서 지금 시도를 하고 있고 연간 약 1,600여 명이 영재 교육을 받고 있고요. 또 클래식 전문 교육기관으로는 예술중학교가 12개, 예술고등학교가 30개, 음악대학이 109개가 있습니다. 그중에서 특별한 한국의 예술교육기관이 한국예술종합학교인데요. 아마 여러분들도 잘 아시겠지만은 요즘 각 콩쿠르에서 입상을 하는 사람들이 대부분 한국예술종합학교인데 이 한국예술종합학교가 1992년에 개교를 하면서 한국의 예술교육의 전환기가 됐다 이렇게 보여집니다. 그리고 다음으로는 우리 한국문화예술위원회에서 지금 음악을 비롯한 순수예술 분야의 모든 장르를 연간 약 4,900억 예산을 가지고 지원을 하고 있는데요. 이 지원 원칙은 단계적 지원을 하고 있습니다. 그리고 또 다른 나라하고 좀 차별화되어 있는 지원이라고 하면 예술가 지원뿐만이 아니라 향유를 위해서 저소득층 265만 명에게 약 2,700억 정도의 예산을 지원을 하고 있고요. 청년들을 위해서는 순수 예술을 향유를 좀 하도록 하기 위해서 160억 정도의 예산을 투입을 해서 바우처 사업을 하고 있다는 것도 특징적입니다. 이 이외에도 여러 가지 음악 분야의 특화 사업들이 있습니다.
We have 1,335 performance venues, 584 of which are public, and we have over 1,400 classical music groups, and 30 of these are the public orchestra. Now, I would like to shift the focus to the software side, that is the content and methods of the education, and explain how classical music is taught in Korea. We have a very active private and public system. About 1,600 students were in gifted classical music program last year. Korea also has a 12 arts middle school and 30 arts high school and over 100 music departments at university. A lovely 4,000 music major graduate each year. One key institution in Korea National University of Arts, known as K-Arts, is produced many winners of the international competitions. It is a major player in our classical music ecosystem. K-Arts has been a pivotal institution in transforming the arts education in Korea. Let me briefly introduce the work of the Arts Council Korea. We founded in 1973. ARCO is the largest public arts funding body in Korea. In 2025, our total creation support budget is around $36 million. The ARCO provides a broad support for the artistic activities across all genres, including the music. ARCO provides step-by-step support for the entire creative process, from emerging artist to professional creator. Through a range of the programs such as the support for the emerging artist, career development for the young artist, the Performing Arts Creation Center, and initiatives for independent creators, we offer comprehensive support not only to individuals, but also to festivals, venues, performing arts organizations, and even the fields of the arts criticism. Furthermore, to ensure that everyone can enjoy the cultural experience, Council offers a culture voucher worth approximately $100 to low-income individuals, expanding access to the arts for all citizens. We also provide a youth culture pass for all 19-year-olds in Korea, worth about $11.5 million annually. We support initiatives like the ARCO Contemporary Music Festival and the ARCO Ensemble for overseas Korean musicians, and even performances at the venue like Carnegie Hall in partnership with the corporate sponsorship for competition winners to help them launch the international careers.
예, 이러한 다양한 인프라와 교육 지원을 바탕으로 해서 한국의 클래식 연주자들이 수많은 국제 콩쿠르에서 입상을 하고 있는데요. 지난해 우리 카일 나드 회장님께서 한국에 오셔서 한국 언론하고 인터뷰를 한 걸 보면 한국이 최다 우승을 한 나라다 그러시면서 유럽이 한국 클래식을 배워야 된다 이런 말씀을까지 하셨는데, 지금 전체 지난 2023년을 보면 전체 우승자 중에 17%가 한국 사람들이에요. 그런데 저희들에게는 고민이 있습니다. 올해도 역시 마찬가지로 이 추세는 계속되어서 바이올린의 김세연이라든가 작곡의 이하늘이, 또한 얼마 전 시벨리우스 콩쿠르에서 우승을 했던 박수혜 등 수많은 우승자들이 배출이 되고 있습니다마는 이 사람들이 콩쿠르에서 우승하고 나서 그 뒤에 활동 영역을 보면 그렇게 비교해서 활발하지가 않아요. 그래서 이러한 부분들을 어떻게 서포트를 하고 지원을 해서 지속 가능하게 발전할 수 있게끔 할 것인가 하는 부분에 대해서 지금 고민이 있습니다. 이번에 이 총회를 통해서 여러분들과 이런 부분들을 어떻게 하면은 더 지속 가능하게 발전할 수 있을지 여러분들의 의견을 듣고 싶고요. 또 우리 아르코에서 어떻게 하면 이렇게 어떤 방식으로 지원을 하는 것이 좋은 방법인지 아이디어를 구하고 싶습니다.
In 2023, Korean musicians won 70% of the international competition prizes, the highest in the world, such as Seongjin Cho, winner of the Chopin International Piano Competition, and Yoon-chan Lim, the winner of the Van Cliburn International Piano Competitions. And we are seeing a new star emerge every year. The violinist Seo-hyun Kim and composer Haneul Lee, and most recently Soo-ye Park, who just won the Sibelius competition. But winning a competition is just the beginning. We want to help these artists grow into sustainable international careers. Many Korean musicians have won the top prizes at major international competitions, but there is still a lack of structured support for their careers afterward. I'm here at the WFIMC General Assembly to explore the ways to address these challenges, and I hope to find the meaningful answers together with you. That's why we are proposing stronger collaborations between the WFIMC competitions and ARCO. We'd like to work with each of you to support the Korean winners through the concert tours, recording, or orchestra opportunity, and more. And we are very open to the conversation.
예, 지금 오늘 제가 PPT 자료를 준비를 못했던 이유는 내일 한번 제가 또 한 세션에서 발표할 기회가 있어요. 그때는 보다 더 구체적인 자료를 가지고 여러분들이 참고하실 수 있도록 내일은 PPT 자료를 가지고 여러분들에게 소개를 더 구체적으로 드리도록 하겠습니다.
The reason why I didn't prepare the PPT slide is because I am going to make another speeches tomorrow on session 6. That is why I didn't prepare it. But if you guys come to tomorrow's sessions, I will try to do my best with my PPT slide. And we are very open to the conversations, and please feel free to talk with us during the rest of the conference. And we are very eager to explore joint strategy tailored to each competitions and context. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chong. There are 17 minutes left. So if we give 10 minutes to the floor, we have 7 minutes for a first round of questions. We know that the most interesting questions are always asked at the coffee break in a personal talk with all of you, very experienced speakers. So my question in these days, we just read that, and this is a point of view from Europe, NATO doubles their budget. This money needs to come from somewhere. I already heard some voices, and I'm based in Italy and in Austria, that of course, first cuts probably will be done in culture. So to stay in the military language, maybe we need some intellectual weapons, very strong one, to defend cultural values, our own cultural system. So we learned now out of these numbers that putting all together this number and understanding that the investment in culture, it was clearly described also by Michael Hefliger this morning, Lucerne Festival, it's 4 times more the economic impact that the budget of the festival himself creates or is causing. You can describe the cultural system as a self-financed ecosystem because linked to the tax system, the taxes or the public money, especially in Europe, we play it back 4 or 3 times more. So my question to you is, looking from Singapore, Mrs. Hon, what kind of idea you are running a space where not only classical music is an important topic, but looking to classical music, what kind of idea do you have about classical music? Because we are here responsible for looking and finding and discovering the talents for the next generation of musicians. Do you see still classical music as an important factor, as an important dimension for a modern society, or do you see already some transformations of the concept of being a musician?
Well, in Singapore, a lot of us, we do play the piano, the violin. We do take up lessons in Western instruments. And there's quite a large percentage of students who do so. And with the rise of our young child prodigy, Chloe Chua, who's not a child anymore, she's now gone to university. With the rise of her development, she's brought along with her a very young audience. And there is interest in playing the violin. Maybe not so much from the kids, but the parents, right, would like their child to be the next Chloe Chua. But just glancing across the board, because I work with a lot of schools as well, classical music in its traditional form we'll still go and watch the concert, but it looks as though the next generation of audience members are looking for something else, classical music plus. And it could come in the form of film music, video game music, or even presenting classical music in a different way, which it could be a multidisciplinary production that is based, which is classical music based. So those are the trends that are going on in Singapore now. We do have the classical music goers, but there's a whole new generation that I think is looking for something different, something unique, and also something that's relatable to them. And actually, we are spending quite a bit of effort trying to make classical musicians think out of the box. It's okay to join an orchestra, it's okay to be a soloist, but if you have a message that you want to give through your music, what is the best way of getting your message out there?
Okay, if I understood it correctly, it has to do also with repertoire. And yesterday, Mr. Wang Bo, the Deputy Director and CEO of PolyArt, said to me that the most successful concerts at this moment with a live orchestra are the one organized in their own theaters, playing music out of the video games. The hall is always full. And so that's a total new field for a symphony orchestra where they can enter to. So, Mr. Chong, South Korea made a lot of investment in music education, and you have more winners than the market can receive. I think we can agree on this. You, as a former Minister of Culture, now President of this most important foundation for cultural funding, how do you see the next 10 years regarding the role of a classical musician?
지금 한국 클래식 시장은 굉장히 확장이 되고 있어요. 그런데 글쎄요, 저는 이 규모는 어느 정도까지 확장이 될지는 예측하기 어렵겠지만은 없어지지는 않는다. 기본적으로 문화 콘텐츠 산업이 발전을 하려고 하면 이 순수 예술, 그러니까 기초 예술이 기반이 되지 않으면 안 되기 때문에 순수 예술은 계속 자리를 지킬 것이며, 한국과 같은 경우에는 이 대중예술, 문화 콘텐츠 산업에 비해서 순수 예술 분야의 시장이 굉장히 협소했었어요. 그런데 요즘에 와서는 수준이 올라가면서 굉장히 확장되고 있는데, 이게 아마 유럽에서의 선진국들에서의 문화 콘텐츠 산업과 이 순수 예술가의 시장 균형이 그 정도까지는 한국 시장은 올라가지 않을까 이렇게 생각을 하고, 이것은 그렇기 때문에 정부가 예산을 가지고 지원을 하게 되고 또 사회적으로 사회적 후원을 통해서 우리가 지원하는 이유가 거기에 있지 않는가 이렇게 생각을 합니다.
The classical music market in Korea is expanding, and it will be expanding for 10 years. Although it did not initially grow from the strong foundation in the fine arts, and historically there has been a less focus on the pure arts forms compared to the popular culture before. The Korea's classical scene is now expected to grow a level up comparable to that advanced European countries in the future. This is largely thanks to the increasing social support and sponsorship.
Maybe asking another question regarding this. So it's growing still for the next 10 years, but it is growing to receive Korean musicians because you have so many of them on the highest level? Or are you also looking to internationalize the Korean music scene?
예, 지금 저희가 지금 그 아티스트 개별적으로 지원을 하거나 또는 단체들에게 지원을 하고 이 국내적 상황이었던 거예요. 국내적으로 지원을 했었는데 이렇게 해서는 더 이상 이제 안 되겠다라고 생각을 했고, 제가 이번에 이 총회에도 참석을 해야 되겠다라고 생각했던 것은 이 총회에 참석하고 계시는 콩쿠르를 주관하시는 분들, 그리고 여러 클래식 음악 축제를 주관하시는 분들과 협의를 해서 한국에서 배출되고 있고 여러분들이 주관하는 콩쿠르에서 배출되고 있는 한국 음악인들이 더 많은 무대에 설 수 있게끔 우리 아르코가 어떻게 지원할 것인가, 이러한 조언을 듣고 코멘트를 듣기 위해서 왔거든요. 앞으로 그래서 우리 국제 콩쿠르 세계 연맹과 협의하고 각 콩쿠르하고 또 협의를 하고 국제와 협의를 할 일이 많이 있지 않을까 이렇게 생각을 합니다.
In addition to supporting the individual artists, I would like to seek advice from the competition organizers on how we can collaborate to help the more Korean musicians gain access to the international stage. We hope to engage in discussions with the World Federation of International Music Competitions as well as the international festivals to create more meaningful opportunities for the Korean artists.
We are always here to learn also from you, but we are also very worried about our own winners, if we can claim them as own winners. Of course, we have also Korean winners, we have Italian winners, but maybe we can go deeper to this in another panel or maybe afterwards. Mr. Lee, do you have any kind of vision how the Shanghai Arts Festival should look like in 2040, 15 years ahead?
这个问题很大，我觉得先讲讲我一个愿望吧。我希望这个中国上海国际艺术节啊，跟我们这个国际音乐比赛联盟啊，能有一个非常好的合作。我非常欢迎我们这个联盟当中的各个比赛的机构，你们的每次比赛的获奖选手、金牌选手，我都欢迎来参加我们的中国上海国际艺术节，来我们这个平台上演出。我衷心的欢迎大家。
I like this openness and this pragmatism. I remember that the German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt said, "Who has visions needs a doctor." So maybe we should start from the reality. And now we have 7 minutes left. Maybe we can ask the floor if there are any questions to these wonderful experts, stakeholders of important institutions. So who would like to ask the first question? Jacques Marquis we have, and then ladies first. I don't see, yeah, we have there. We need one microphone.
Yes. 大家好，我是来自中国音乐周报的记者谷宇飞，然后我主要关注的是环球领域的一些新闻报道。我想请问今天世界国际音乐比赛联盟主席 Peter， 正如今天的主题东西交响所示，如今国际音乐赛事中涌现出众多的亚洲获奖者。那么古典音乐虽然源自于西方，却在东方焕发新生。请问 Peter 主席，您认为培养优秀获奖者的核心要素是什么？究竟是卓越的技术，还是深厚的社会音乐文化底蕴？那么这两者的结合又如何共同塑造一位全面发展的音乐家呢？谢谢。
It's a question to the moderator. Okay, I will try to answer, and then maybe my guests can help me on answering. I have a personal view on this. I think without any kind of deep knowledge of tradition, you are not going far. But tradition alone, it's not enough. And when I'm looking to most of, and that's interesting, to most of students coming out from academies and winning competitions, they are so without any fantasy regarding their own repertoire. They really think the 200th edition of Beethoven sonatas completely recorded. I understand the artist himself, he wants to show that he's able, but there is not anymore a market for this or a space for this. And if you look to the careers, I'm always mentioning the same example, Vikingur Olafsson from Iceland, the pianist. maybe the most impressive career over the last 10 years. He's the only pianist selling out 2 great halls on the row in big capitals with his Goldberg variations. But he started to build up a very specific identity. And I think what we all have to advise this competition, as we are so close, and we are assisting then in that moment when they are going through that open window to the professional life, to be more courageous, to be more individual, and then maybe there is space for something unexpected. But maybe somebody of the speakers would like to add something to this.
제일 중요한 거는 그러니까 어린 시절부터 그 클래식 음악이든 예술을 접할 수 있는 기회를 많이 주는 것, 이게 제일 중요하다라고 생각을 해요. 그래서 저희 하로코에서는 어떻게 하면은 어린이 청소년들 프로그램을 많이 만들어 가지고 이 클래식 순수 예술들을 접할 수 있게끔 할 것인가 하는 부분들을 고민하고 있습니다.
It is very important to provide the children or young generations with the opportunity to experience the classical music and the arts from the early age. To this end, we have developed the programs for children and the youth, allowing them to engage with appreciate the world of the classical and fine arts.
Jacques.
Thank you, all panelists. Very interesting presentation. Christelle, when you think of the Esplanade and you say that 70% of your ticket sales is free, how you have 11 series of concerts and many things, how you decide to charge for some and not charge for others, and how you can change from not charging any money to a series and suddenly deciding to charge money for it.
Thank you so much for your question. That is something that we are grappling ourselves. For a lot of our performances, it is 70% is free. So what we try to do is that we theme a lot of our performances that are free every month. So what we do is that, for example, Classical Music Month is in February. And usually for our free programs, it is all local artists. And if we decide to bring in an orchestra, usually the theory is those who are performing and those who support their friends at the free performances, they would want to go and watch an international artist to be inspired. For certain programs, this works. For other programs which are not classical music, we are finding it a little bit difficult to try to convince those who watch the free programs to buy a ticket to an actual performance. But for music, it's much easier. The barrier to entry to watch a performance and to pay for a ticket is much easier versus something that's multidisciplinary.
Any other question? Yes?
Hello, this is Taku Kawai of Osaka Chamber Music Competition. Thank you for the impressive discussion. Peter Paul shows that there are 4 branches of international music school in China now. So in our recently, Osaka competition is welcoming a lot of the application of the string quartet and the piano trio from China recently than before. Do you feel any changes since the 4 branches of the international music school established in China? And I think this is a new window. This can be the new window, not only for the education itself, but also the collaboration among the Asian area. Do you feel any changes after the establishment? Two, three of you.
Who wants to answer? Mr. Lee?
OK，我觉得古典音乐在中国应该讲是这20-30年当中迅速的在发展的一个行业不管从国内各个城市 音乐厅的建造的数量，和我们国内交响乐团的建立的数量，和孩子们学音乐的这种热情，各个方面来说，近20-30年来是中国古典音乐发展的一个飞速发展的一个时期。那么在这段时间内，国际顶尖的这些乐团、音乐家都纷纷来到中国市场，所以应该讲特别是在疫情后这2-3年当中，大家可以看到，这个古典音乐市场在中国是一个井喷式的发展，是一个井喷式的发展。这个不管是欧洲、美洲的这些民团来中国的次数，包括这些音乐家来中国巡演的这个次数，包括我们中国这个音乐教育等等各个方面来看，都是一个飞速发展的一个时期。所以我觉得古典音乐在未来的10到20年当中，在中国市场还是有非常大的一个发展潜力的。
Other questions? Then I think we can finish on point and moving to the coffee break, where of course everybody is invited to ask his own personal questions to the speakers. I think it's a very positive final sentence by Mr. Lee. China and Asia, and therefore also classical music, is still growing. So we as competition have also a little bit of future. Thank you very much.